What's up, guys? This is Jan for Chess24. We continue talking about the Grand Chess Tour, which has moved on from Paris to Belgium, to Leuven. And in Leuven, the players are doing the same thing. 3 days of rapid chess, 3 games each day, and then 2 days of blitz action. This was the second day of the rapid, and we will have a look at how things went for the world champion Magnus Carlsen, for Wesley So, and the other stars involved. After day 1, world champion Magnus Carlsen trailing Wesley So because he lost their direct encounter. Carlsen only on 50%, 3 out of 6, because they count wins as 2 points. After 3 games, he has 3 out of 6, and Wesley So has 5 out of 6. On the second day, he started with a quiet draw with the black pieces against Maxim Vachier-Lagrave, but then got very creative against Vladimir Kramnik, already on move number 1, a move you don't see very often at this level or any level, the move 1f4. The bird, Carlsen would later tweet that he established that the bird is indeed bigger than the word. Isn't the bird the word though, Magnus? I'm not quite sure what he was getting at. Still, he did win this game, not because of the brilliance of this move, but because of the brilliance of his later play. I especially enjoyed the move king to g1 here, coordinating his pieces, preparing to put the knight on b3, the rook can go to c1, the king can recapture on f2. It turns out that the main problem in the position are the weak black pawns on a5 and e6. Kramnik did not manage to solve that and went on to lose the game after losing the a-pawn. Not the only victory for Magnus Carlsen on that day, because he would also win his next game against Bahadur Jobava, who I'm sure scored a lot of style points, but no chess points so far in the event. Very rough time. Bahadur Jobava, the ever-creative player from Georgia, lost his first 6 games, and the encounter with the world champion was no exception, where, sort of strangely, his knight got into trouble in the middle of the board. Here we see the position after queen f4. This knight really doesn't have anywhere to go after knight f6. Rook d6 picks it up, queen takes b2, queen takes f6, and white wins. So you have to go f5, but this is not a reverse bird situation. Here f5 just fatally weakens the king after knight e5. Carlsen had no trouble bringing home the full point, as we can see, by this series of unfortunate events. Another victory for Bahadur Jobava, but the good news for him is there's still another loss for Bahadur Jobava, I'm sorry. But the good news for him is there's still 3 days of rapid, and then 3 rounds of rapid. Whoa, that's cool down here. And then 18 games of blitz, so plenty of chances to find his way into the tournament. However, the leader of the tournament was not Magnus, as I said, but Wesley So. And Wesley So kept doing what he's been doing. He took the chances that he was given, and this time around he grabbed one against Vishy Anand, the former world champion Vishy Anand. In this position after f3, quite endgame, missed the chance to simplify with the move bishop d4, which seems like it doesn't give white anything better than knight takes a5. After which either ba5, cd, rook c4, or even bishop takes c3, knight takes b7, bishop d4. Maintained the balance. Vishy would not have lost the game after bishop d4, but instead he spotted the move bishop to g1, which looks very cute, same idea, tending to take on c4, also hitting the h2 pawn, but it does allow rook d6 check, a petite combinaison, and Wesley is not missing any of those things. King e7, knight takes b6. My theory, which of course could be wrong, is that Vishy was intending to go rook to c7 here, and thought that after king g1, king d6, he would emerge and exchange up, but after rook c7, white has the very tricky move. Rook takes h6. After gh, knight d5, king d6. Takes. All of a sudden it's white who wins. Therefore, instead of entering all this business, Anand took on b6, but was not able to defend this rook endgame. And Wesley So went on to add another full point without losing any games which means in the standings, spoiler alert, if you really don't want to know, don't look yet. But it does mean that Wesley So, let's make this bigger, is still very much in the lead. You can see 2 points for win, 1 point for a draw. Wesley So 10 points out of 12, or 5 out of 6, with Magnus Carlsen on 8 and MVL on 8 in reasonably close pursuit. Let's have a look at some of the other events of the day. There we see Jan Nepomniachtchi on 7 points. He played a game he probably will not like to think back to, but one of the most spectacular first 10 moves I've seen at this level against Vasily Ivanchuk. That game started with c4, so far so good, e5, g3, knight to c6, bishop g2, and Nepomniachtchi went for the move h5, very aggressive, haven't seen this in this position, intending to play h4, h3. And normally white wouldn't allow that, but Ivanchuk says, you know what, be my guest, push your h-pawn. I am a big checkers student, I will try to build checkers position here. Allowed the pawn to h3 and put his bishop on e4. And was rewarded for it after knight f6, bishop g5. I don't trust the white position at all. And I'm only saying that because the computer says black is better. But after bishop e7, bishop f6, maybe Nepomniachtchi got too clever. Did not recapture here. But went bishop b4 check. And it turns out that after king f1, queen f6, knight f3, the white position is not all that terrible anymore. And Ivanchuk went on to win that game, making it harder for Nepomniachtchi to stay in touch with the very top spots in the tournament. Still, Nepomniachtchi doing quite alright, coming to the Grand Chess Tour right after finishing his stint playing for Russia in the World Team Championships in Khanty-Mansiysk. Another guy who's played a bunch of interesting games is Vishy Anand. And let's look at one of his victories. We've seen his loss to Wesley So, but he also had a very smooth win against Vasily Ivanchuk. We see almost everybody. We just saw an Ivanchuk win, now we see a loss, and the star move is Anand's g3 in this position. Let me explain. If white goes, let's say b3, black takes, and goes king g7. All of a sudden, very awkward pin. Can't break it because the queen is under attack. Now, let's compare this with the move g3. Not gonna be able to do it because the rook just goes somewhere. Queen is defended. Nice little move, also stopping the knight from coming to f4. And the plan is simple as well. Rook to f2, bishop takes h5, rook to f5, resigns. That is literally what happens. Rook to f5, resigns, no defense against checkmate on h7. What else do we have? We have Vladimir Kramnik and Levon Aronian providing a lot of action as well. Kramnik, at least it looked like this from a video I've seen on Twitter, seemed to struggle quite a bit with the time control. They're playing this delay, which outside of the United States. We haven't heard of this in Europe. No one does this here. Like there's a countdown, your clock ticks down before it starts. You have 10 seconds to make up your mind. It's quite confusing if you're not used to it. And it seems like the world's best players are only slowly adjusting to it. However, I'm not sure if delay was to blame here. I just wanted to show you a nice geometrical idea that Kramnik missed after rook to e8. He could have gone queen takes b4. The point being rook takes e5, queen b8 check. And white wins his material back. It is out of the woods. That didn't happen. Instead, Kramnik went for the very drastic g3 takes f4. And Aronian responded in equally brutal style with rook takes e5, f takes e, queen f3. Not sure if he had calculated everything, but he was right because the black passed pawns will win the race against the white passed pawns. After e6, bishop b5, e7, c2, d6, b3. White gets the queen first, but there's too many enemy. And Aronian went on to win this game against Vladimir Kramnik. So a lot of action in the Grand Chess Tour, as you would have expected. But a lot of action still to come. Magnus Carlsen, 2 points behind Wesley So. Will be interesting to follow if he can catch his rival over the next couple days. Thank you guys for watching this very uneven presentation, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.